Welcome back. India is grappling a serious water crisis. Now that might seem odd in a monsoon which has seen heavy floods in several parts of the country. But the fact is, large parts of India could be facing another drought deficit when it comes to water. The Niti Aayog has recently revised its water management index to track how states are wasting water. It's our other special story tonight.
Long stretches of drought and unexpected floods. India suffered both this year. It remains a mystery how a country can bemoan water crisis just months after a bountiful monsoon. The answer probably lies in the wasteful use of precious water in the country. The Niti Aayog and the Jal Shakti Ministry are now ranking states based on their use of water, based on parameter like irrigation, watershed development, urban water supply, etc. The findings are stunning. States with abundant availability of water were found to be most wasteful with water, while states like Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh topped the charts.
Despite this competitive federalism, we still feel that most states need to show massive substantial improvement in water management practices.
Take a look at this. 5 of the largest cities facing water crisis are in India. Delhi is ranked second among global cities facing the crisis. 82 crore people in India face water scarcity and 16 crore don't have access to clean drinking water. The Narendra Modi government has set the ambitious target of giving every rural household assured water supply of about 55 litres per day. Water for all by 2024 is a daunting task the Modi government has set itself. For any realistic chance of reaching there, work needs to be done right now. Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining me on this News Today Water Special is a very special guest. I'm joined by Parameswaran Iyer, Secretary, Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation in the newly formed Ministry of Jal Shakti. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Iyer. Just for our viewers, you are the man, in a way, one of the men behind the success of Swachh Bharat. We're going to be open defecation free, hopefully on the 2nd of October. Param, is this a bigger challenge, Mr. Iyer, than what you had to face in Swachh Bharat? Now you're going to have to take piped drinking water as per the Prime Minister's promise to every household by 2024.
Well, certainly drinking water is a very big challenge. But I think in both cases, we have got the wind at our back. We've got the backing of the Prime Minister. And that made all the difference in the Swachh Bharat mission. We had that level of political leadership, which is unprecedented. It made all the difference. And then, of course, the people got involved. It turned out to be a Jan Andolan. And I think very much on those lines, the Prime Minister sees the water mission, all the challenges ahead of us, getting people involved in the same manner as we did in the Swachh Bharat mission, making it a Jan Andolan. So from Jal to Jan Andolan, it's going to be very complex, very challenging, but we think we'll get it done.
You know, those are all lovely words, from Jal to Jan. But let me just throw the hard facts, as the Niti Aayog report has done on water. 82 crore people face water scarcity, 82% rural households don't have piped water supply, 16.3 crore people don't have access to clean water, 5 of the world's largest cities facing water stress are in India, only 35% urban households have piped water supply. These are huge numbers, just the scale of what is at stake. I mean, are you being over optimistic when you say that we will take piped drinking water to every household in this country by 2024?
Sure. Look, no one said it's going to be easy, but one of the lessons we learned from the Swachh Bharat mission and other large programs was that you have to deal with scale. And by that I mean that this is about involving the state governments. After all, water is a state subject. They have to implement the program. but taking it all the way down to the community level. And I think that's one of the strengths of this government in involving people in these programs. So once it becomes a Jan Andolan, when people understand and accept their responsibilities, it makes a very big difference and it becomes more sustainable. Now, the points you mentioned today about the Niti Aayog report, obviously there are major water challenges. Take rural pipe water supply today. While about 80% of rural habitations have access to about 40 liters per capita per day, that's by way of hand pumps or public stand posts or dug wells. And the coverage of pipe water supply in households, rural households, is less than 20%. So the challenge is to go from that 20% to 100% in a period of 5 years. But we think that when you take it into mission mode, you involve all the stakeholders, it's possible.
I like the use of this word mission mode, because I've been hearing it for the last 5 years with the Narendra Modi government, that we do things on a mission mode. Now, the government has identified, we are told, as many as 1,592 blocks in 256 districts which are facing an acute water crisis and over-exploitation of groundwater. Now, that's the reality. In my state of Maharashtra, every year that there is a drought, the groundwater levels are further depleting. There are the water tanker mafias that have come in place. You're saying you will take public participation in the movement. How are you going to control the water tanker mafias who are already operating in Maharashtra, a BJP-ruled state?
Sure. So, that's one part of the problem. But I think you spoke about these 256 water-stressed districts.
That's right.
Which are currently where the Jal Shakti Abhiyan is going on. I think the important thing to realize is that water conservation needs to go together with drinking water supply. So, first of all, institutionally, the creation of the Jal Shakti Mantralaya has brought together water resource management and the service delivery of water and sanitation. So institutionally, the earlier fragmentation has been addressed in the government of India, and now many state governments are adopting that model. Now, under this program which is going on, which is going to set the stage for future water integration, they're looking at all aspects of water. The water tanker mafia you're talking about became necessary only when water was not available.
Right.
But now Maharashtra itself is running the Jal Shivar.
They are,
Abhiyan.
but it's not been fully successful. I've gone myself on the ground and seen the water tanker mafia still operate. So I'm just wondering, controlling those water tanker mafias may be much more difficult in this instance than it was when you were dealing with rural sanitation and doing something positive by setting up the toilets. Here there are far too many vested interests at work.
No, there's no doubt about that. So this is a much more complex problem. Not only the tanker story you're talking about, but even if you look at the importance of source sustainability, because that's critical, provision of drinking water supply, getting the community to own it, and then the reuse of the grey water which is coming out of households. It needs to be an end-to-end solution. So in many ways, this is a 3-in-1 program. And water conservation needs to go hand in hand with water supply. But I think giving the local responsibility of following the principle of subsidiarity, which is letting the lowest appropriate level deal with water management, I think that's going to make a big difference, and it will also deal with this problem you're talking about.
It's fascinating when you're saying that about, getting people at the ground level involved, because P. Sainath, Magsaysay Award winner and someone who's focused on rural India, keeps telling me the right to water must be a fundamental right. It cannot be that the rich in the country get easy access to as much of water as they want, while the poor are struggling for a pot of water. Women have to walk miles to get that one pot of water. I'm just wondering, how are you going to achieve that balance between those who have access to as much water as they want and those at the bottom of the pyramid? Is this exercise first aimed at those at the bottom of the pyramid?
Sure. And and look, this government has done Bijli, Sadak, toilets, cooking gas, a number of other basic services have been provided. And I think drinking water in the household is an aspiration which today needs to be met, particularly in rural India. So the poorest of the poor, many of them are spending a huge amount of time in fetching water. So this is something which needs to be addressed. And I think over this 5-year period, people in rural India, particularly those in the poorer sections, this is something which is going to meet their aspirations.
It's not just rural India. Your home city, in a way, Chennai, has suffered a huge water crisis of a kind which, has not happened in years. A lot of the water bodies are declining, depleting. I hear the same thing in Hyderabad, in Bangalore, in Mumbai. Encroachments are rampant. How are you going to actually be able to handle this at multiple levels given the stakeholders involved? Will the Tamil Nadu government have to settle the Chennai water crisis? Will the Telangana government have to settle the crisis of Hyderabad, the Maharashtra government of Mumbai? Will it have to be done through decentralization?
No, absolutely. Look, urban local bodies ultimately are responsible. State governments need to handle the issue of water, state subject. But coming to the issue of urban water you mentioned, again, there are many challenges facing urban water supply as they face rural water supply. One of the challenges is that non-revenue water, which is basically the water which disappears between the supply and what reaches at the tap, is very high in India. It's anywhere upwards of 30%. Now there are many water utilities in the world where non-revenue water is less than 10%. So demand side management is very, very important. That needs to be done. In the case of Chennai, for example, traditional water bodies have, because of urbanization and encroachments,
that's right,
have been built over. So again, let's not forget that the Jal Shakti Abhiyan is focusing on renovating traditional water bodies as well, both rural and urban.
But the builder mafias that exist, in a Chennai or a Bangalore or a Mumbai, just like the water tanker mafia exists in rural India, how are you going to deal with those? The system, is the system ready to cede power?
I think the system is getting ready to cede power. Regulation is very important. So regulation, because water is a state subject, will probably have to be dealt with at a state level. But the national government needs to come up with a framework. So regulation is important, economic regulation, but also other regulations which prevent misuse. So it's the responsibility of the state government. The central government is ready to talk to them and to come up with framework, give them technical advice. In the end, it has to happen at the level which is the most appropriate.
It's been a strange kind of few weeks. We've seen parts of the country completely flooded out. In some cases, questions being raised over dam management between Karnataka and Maharashtra. Kerala again finding the Western Ghats because of soil erosion, large parts of the state underwater, landslides, and other parts fully dry. It is a problem, a challenge of climate change, as many environmentalists tell me, a problem of failure to stop the environmental degradation of eco-sensitive areas. Is this really the job of a ministry? Having a Jal Shakti ministry, can it resolve all these multiple problems, Mr. Iyer?
Look, it's only a first step. I think it's a very important first step for institutional integration. Until now, Rajdeep, as you know, water has been dealt with in the government of India in several different ministries. So they were having, they were sort of looking at different sides of the elephant. Institutionally now, the Ministry of Jal Shakti has brought together water resources and service delivery. It needs to now happen at the state level. The Prime Minister has appealed to state governments to also integrate. And look, we've got many challenges, whether it's climate change, whether it's the lack of storage capacity. All these problems will now start to get addressed in an integrated manner.
Let me ask you then in conclusion, do you really see a mindset change taking place? How long do you see it, before we will see a mindset change in terms of issues like water conservation, water management, government, civil society working together? Do you really see it happening?
Rajdeep, we're already seeing beginnings of this. Ever since the Prime Minister, in his first Man Ki Baat address of his second term, spoke about the importance of water conservation and Jal Sanchay, we are seeing amazing responses from people, from ordinary people, from media houses such as yourself and other channels, newspapers, just ordinary people. They're all thrilled. I think there's been a pent-up demand for water being put on the national development agenda. We're very confident now with the backing of, at the highest level in the country, water is very firmly on the national development agenda and will continue to be.
Well, we supported you fully on Swachh Bharat, and we can assure you that we will now support you in Jal Bharat, because it is, at the end of the day, an issue that cuts across political divides. Water unites us all, or the need for water. Sure. Mr. Iyer, I wish you all the best. You've got a big task ahead of you.
Thank you
Thanks
very much.
Thank you,
Rajdeep.
Parameswaran Iyer, the Secretary Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation, giving us what lies ahead in the Jal Abhiyan, the Modi government's next big initiative.